Hello Eternum and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news, and this is the War Report. No change in the dynamic of Eternum last night as all three great houses hold their ground and retain their rulership. Especially close one in Brightwood, we caught up with El Dawnguard leadership after their fight. It looked pretty tight there for a while. You guys lost 2 points early with 25 minutes left to play. You dug deep, got the eye of the tiger, or dare I say the spirit of the bear, and you pulled it out. How do you feel about the outcome?
I thought we did pretty well. Personally, I would like to see us hold better. I think reses are so fast that they are able to put constant pressure, and we aren't able to match that pressure properly. We also don't know specific numbers. We like to match specific numbers when it comes to holding a point. So yeah, that was our biggest issue, but we were confident because of last time that we won the 50-50 that we would win again. So yeah, I don't know, but we would want to defend better and try to hold 2 points next time, maybe even 3.
In other news, Knights of the Turntable are turning it out in expeditions and OPRs while we continue to grow in number and improve our gear scores. Contact a member in-game about becoming a squire. Quick weather report today with a sunny morning all day long until early evening, with a 40% chance of invasion scattered throughout the island into the night. 3 simulated fantasy combat resolutions submitted for tonight, brought to you by the patent-pending foam core technology of LARPCO. Remember, if it isn't LARPCO, it's cardboard. Up first, Covenant Company, Gilded Outlaws, assault the syndicate forces of Primordius Virtue for the fishing port town of Reekwater. Newcomer, Gilded Outlaws, make their first foray into land acquisition by attempting to take the southeastern swamplands. Great House Primordius Virtue has held Reekwater for over a month now and have no intention of giving up the fishing hotspots. Later, Gilded Outlaws regroup and attack again, this time against the Marauders of Landlords for rent control in Restless Shore. Pretty bold for a newcomer to attack 2 great houses in one night. We should know by tonight the real strength of their ambition. For the Landlords, dealing with adverse possession attempts is all part of the job. In the closer, Syndicate Company Hexacon challenge the marauding forces of El Dawnguard for control of the deep forests of Brightwood. Hexacon has regrouped from their first failure against Totally Not Regime in Monarch's Bluff and turned their attention northward to take advantage of a tired El Dawnguard. But El Dawnguard is an elite defensive force of the forest. Fighting on back-to-back nights should be no problem for them. Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello Eternum and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news, and this is the War Report. No change in the dynamic of Eternum last night as all 3 great houses hold the line and continue their rule over their respective regions. We asked El Dawnguard participant about fighting on back-to-back nights. Did that fighting without any rest have any impact on you tonight? Apparently not.
Nah, we're missing a couple players though, but still did the job.
In local news, multiple Covenant leaders have begun organizing a fashion gala event to fund the completion of the cathedral in Brightwood. More on that story as it develops. Turning to the weather, which is, of course, sunny all morning long until early evening when intermittent chance of invasions wherever there isn't formal combat. What combat, you say? The 4 simulated fantasy combat resolutions on tap for tonight. Brought to you by LARPCO. Remember, if it isn't LARPCO, it's cardboard. On the undercard, the Marauders of Emerald Stand attack the Syndicate forces of Secret for the Bamboo Forest Preserves and Medicinal Hot Springs of Ebonscale. In their 4th attempt to seize land, Emerald Stand have turned their attention on Ebonscale. Will tonight's fight be the one? Responsibly working on the hamlet, Secret has diligently improved, refining, and crafting infrastructure, as well as commerce. That kind of dedication and organization shows on the battlefield. After that, the Syndicate forces of Hero challenge Regime for their championship title belt and the right to rule over Everfall. A win for Regime tonight would extend their Neverfall streak to 9, putting them within striking distance of the current record holder Elysian with 10. For Hero, a chance to play spoiler against one of the strongest forces to have ever held a region in a tournament. Later, the forces of Regime regroup to defend their hold on the financial capital of Windsward from the syndicate forces of Wabbits of War. For several weeks now, Regime has shown that they can fight on short rest, including last month when they turned these same War Wabbits away. So tonight's outcome will likely hinge on how much more the Wabbits of War have practiced. In the nightcap, the Covenant forces of Double declare war against the Spice Lords of Duranda Dogs for control of the spice-rich region of First Light. This is Double's second attempt to seize land on the island, and they're doubling down on First Light. It was Duranda Dogs who turned Double away before, and they're even more likely to fight harder for the beach now that spring is upon us. We'll have the outcomes and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. No change in the dynamic of Eternum last night, as all four great houses successfully defend their respective regions. Of note in Everfall, the Force of Regime retained their championship title belt and extend their Neverfall streak to 9. KOTT news crews were working late in real life, but did manage to get to First Light for reactions from Duranda Dog leadership after their nightcap. Congratulations on your victory out there today. It went a full 30 minutes, but was it ever in doubt for you?
They always show up with the best players, and they always try, and they definitely did do what we thought they would do again. This time around, we did change a few things, and we felt like our team played well today. Maybe even great, just better than them today.
Well, today was your day, and that's a great day to have. May I ask you, do you have any additional intentions for the Hamlet now that you've started to settle into your position here as governor?
Yeah, it feels like we have started settling in. We'll probably begin developing more of the refining and crafting the territories here and promoting some of our housing discounts. We are working on the spice market still. As you can see, it dropped down slightly. However, it's not as much as we intended to.
Duranda Dogs would like to remind Syndicate members that they are welcome to partake in the daily free food offered in Town Square. While in First Light, KOTT news crews had the opportunity to conduct an informal, introductory RP walking class for citizens curious about KOTT reporting methods. Turning to the weather, and it's going to be another beautiful morning all day long until early evening cold fronts coming in from the north collide with spring El Niños from the south for a 25% chance of invasions. 3 roster submissions for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPGO. Remember, if it isn't LARPGO, it's cardboard. Up first, the Syndicate forces of Washed Millennials challenge the Marauders of the Instigators for control of the northeasternmost region of Morningdale. I can't help but think that Washed Millennials named themselves for this specific fight against this specific opponent. As for the hipster home brewing hippies of the Instigators, they're on day 38 for their barley, hops, strawberries, blueberries, and lemon grow. They can't fall now. Then, the Marauders of Booty Clapital seek to steal a capital from the Syndicate forces of Primordius Virtue in the fishing port town of Reekwater. In the last 2 weeks, Booty Clapital has been assaulting various regional leaders in an effort to secure its capital. In that same time, Primordius Virtue has been diligent in improving the infrastructure of Reekwater, making it a more suitable staging grounds for expeditions into Lazarus. In the late night event, the Syndicate forces of, and they don't stop coming, challenge the Covenant forces of Kyoto Yohai for the primary oil reserves of Weaver's Fen. Much like the years, newcomer and they don't stop coming has started coming to acquire the peat moss fields of Weaver's Fen. But while their brains got smart, did their heads get dumb? They'll have so much to do if they hope to see Fort Weaver Fen's back street. Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. Dynamic change in the history of Eternum last night as the Syndicate forces of, and they don't stop coming, captured the primary oil reserves of Weaver's Fin. A mercenary-heavy contingency of Black Wolves anchored the assault, which put the Syndicate back in control of this strategically important region. Governor Miri was took a moment from briefing their transition team to speak with KOTT News. Governor Miri was taken. JChalant, KOTT News, thank you for taking the time to speak with me. Great victory out there with plenty of time to spare. How do you feel it went?
It was a tough fought war. Combined forces of Kokioto and Regime will be and continue to be a tough opponent. But I will say, Purple is strong. Purple is sick of seeing the yellow be the dominant color, and tonight was the one of hopefully more nights to come.
Governor, can the citizens of Weaver's Fin expect any civic projects to improve Hamlet infrastructure during your leadership?
Currently, it looks like it's going to stand as like a processing town, so maybe wood processing to 5, but so far, the way it stands currently, outside of port upgrades, should roughly stay about the same. But if people, need a board to get activated, just let me know, and we'll see what we can get done for you guys.
Upon securing the hamlet and they don't stop coming, leadership also began distributing oil reserves to members of the syndicate, so be sure to get yours daily. Turning to the weather, and it's a sunny morning all day long with the exception of a rare matinee invasion in Weaver's Fin mid-afternoon. Later in the evening, northern cold fronts will cause a 30% chance of invasion with the possibility of one really late in first light. 3 declarations of simulated fantasy combat resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPGO. Remember, if it's not LARPGO, it's cardboard. Up first, the Covenant forces of Regime will defend themselves from the marauders of Pibsy, who are attempting to plunder the financial capital of Windsward. This will be newcomer Pibsy's first official attempt to seize land in Eternum, and they're opening by gambling on a jackpot. The forces of Regime have financed their growing empire by controlling Windsward for nearly 3 months, and you don't maintain the longest tenured position in Eternum by taking aggressions lightly. Meanwhile, the Syndicate forces of Black Wolves Company hike up the bluff and challenge the Covenant forces of Totally Not Regime for the title of Monarch. Black Wolves Company are coming off their mercenary involvement from last night and channeling that energy into tonight's efforts for themselves. For Totally Not Regime, maintaining control of the resource-rich starting area of Monarch's Bluff seems to be of some importance as they continue to invest in the quality of the hamlet. In the nightcap, the Syndicate forces of Duranda Dogs launch an assault upon the Covenant forces of Young Money for control of the secondary oil reserves of Cutlass Keys. Duranda Dogs set their sight on expanding into the neighboring region in an attempt to monopolize the southern peninsula. Young Money has an unusually strong sentimental attachment to Cutlass Keys, having only recently acquired it last week, but you can see in their eyes they won't let it go easily. We'll have the outcomes and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello Eternum and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. Dynamic change in the history of Eternum last night as the forces of Black Wolves Company conquer the high bluff and declare themselves Monarch. Good morning, Eternum. JChalant, KOTT News here, reporting from the steps of City Hall, where things seem normal amongst the citizenry, with a few exceptions. Black Wolves Company have acquired the mining rights to local iron resources. As such, they encourage members of the Syndicate to help themselves daily. In related news, this move gives the Syndicate control over the central trading routes of the Southern Peninsula. KOTT News will bring you more on this story as it develops. Turning to the weather, and it's another beautiful morning all day long until an unusual afternoon invasion pops up in Weaver's Fin. Then clearing again until later in the evening when a 15% chance of invasion may occur. 3 officially sanctioned simulated combat resolutions on the books for tonight, brought to you by LARPGO. Remember, if it isn't LARPGO, it's cardboard. Up first, The Covenant forces of Yan Huang return to challenge the Syndicate forces of Primordius Virtue for control of the fishing port town of Reekwater. Yan Huang make their second appearance on the battlefield, having been turned away by Duranda dogs in First Light 2 weeks ago. Primordius Virtue has turned the fishing port town of Reekwater into a thriving destination for crafting, expeditions, and world PvP, and now they're going to defend it. Then in the late night affairs, we have the Covenant forces of Here Be Monsters Limited Liability Corporation versus the Marauders of the Landlords for control of the Restless Shores. Newcomers Here Be Monsters LLC are making their first official foray into land acquisition by attempting adverse possession. It's anarchy in the archipelago as always, as the landlords of the Restless Shore, landlords, bring out the sheriff and attempt to evict these would-be squatters. And finally, the Syndicate forces of Black Wolves Company prowl into the deep forests of Brightwood in their attempt to overthrow the Marauders of Drop Guard. Attacking on back-to-back nights, this now great house is either ambitious or was planning ahead. We'll see how committed they are tonight. For Drop Guard, a rebranding in name. But why would an elite defense force want to drop its guard? Or perhaps it's subliminal messaging, attempting to persuade the offense. Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello Eternum and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news, and this is the War Report. No change in the dynamic of Eternum last night, as all three great houses hold out against their would-be conquerors. KOTT news crews spent the evening running chests in Eden Grove, and if that sounds like something you'd like to do, contact Mansa Musa in-game about becoming a knight. Looking at the forecast, and it's sure to be sunny all morning long until early evening tonight, when tropical El Niños will push in from the south, causing invasions along the coastal regions of Eternum. 4 bouts on the card for tonight's simulated fantasy combat resolution, brought to you by LARPCO. Remember, if it isn't LARPCO, it's cardboard. On the undercard, the featherweight syndicate forces of Hot Passionate Comrades attempt a hostile takeover of the financial capital of Windsward. Newcomer Hot Passionate Comrades are taking the logical first step of getting started on the island by attacking the greatest wealth-generating region on Eternum. For Regime, a fitting warm-up for a long night, as they may have to divide their forces defending 2 regions. Then, the welterweight division Covenant forces of Double assault the Spice Lords of Duranda Dogs for regional control of First Light. Up-and-comer Double sure has grit, coming back for a 3rd attempt on First Light, the only region it seems interested in. The reason is simple. It's the spice, and Duranda Dogs won't let the forces of Double interrupt the production and export of spice while they're in command. Next, the middleweight contenders of the Covenant forces of Here Be Monsters Inc. assault the syndicate forces of Secrets for the Bamboo Forest Preserves and Medicinal Hot Springs of Ebonscale. Here Be Monsters incorporate and reclassify themselves in their effort to avoid legal pressures. But that won't stop the pressure that will be on them tonight as they go toe-to-toe with Secrets, fighting among the bamboo. And finally, the marauding great house of Dropguard challenge the reigning heavyweight champion of Eternum, Regime, for their championship title and the right to rule the region of Everfall. Dropguard was up late last night, holding out for a 2-point hold against the forces of Black Wolves Company. For Regime, history in the making, because a win tonight puts them on even footing with the current Neverfall record holder, Elysian, with 10. We'll have the outcomes and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello Eternum and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news, and this is the War Report. No change in the dynamic of Eternum last night as all 4 great houses hold out. Some closer than others as Regime holds the line at the gates and matches the current Neverfall streak at 10. Their celebration went well into the night, but if you're celebrating today in real life, please party responsibly and be mindful of others Who haven't? Turning to the weather, and it's a sunny morning all day long until early evening. El Niños will cause light invasions along the eastern shoreline. Then later, northern cold fronts will blast in, bringing invasions with them for the entire northwest region. 2 officially sanctioned simulated fantasy combat resolutions submitted for tonight. Brought to you by LARPCO. Remember, if it isn't LARPCO, it's cardboard. In a matinee matchup this afternoon, the Marauders of Unsupervised assault the Syndicate forces of, and they don't stop coming, for control of the primary oil reserves of Weaver's Fen. A once proud great house with control of multiple regions unsupervised has gone unnoticed since then, and have rebuilt for another push. And they don't stop coming, have been fed the rules, and they're ready to hit the ground running in their first defense of the peat moss oil fields of the Fen. Later in the evening, the Syndicate forces of Searing Void attack the marauding forces of the Instigators for control of the northernmost region of Morningdale. Does Searing Void want to put an observation camp in Morningdale, or do they have some other nefarious intention for the region? The Instigators are still on day 42 of their grow. Their barley and hops, as well as their strawberries and lemons, and blueberries and oranges, aren't even close to ready. Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News.